Check, check. Oh, wow. Well, I think that whole intro was muted. I wonder if Andy caught that. I wonder if Andy's watching the YouTube stream. Check one. Okay. I guess I'm going to start that again. So I'm going to be doing some work while I'm chatting with you guys today while we do the show. Welcome to episode 7. Just got to copy that. Things are very busy right now because we are promoting the Celebration of Science and Reason tour featuring Sabine Hossenfelder and Lawrence Krauss. We are starting in Canada, Montreal, April 12th, Calgary, April 13th, and Vancouver, April 14th. We are looking at a Toronto event, potentially April 11th. We'll get back to you on that. If you guys want to see a Toronto event, let me know in the comment section below. Make sure you're subscribed. Hit the like button if you enjoy the content on this channel. Really helps when you support the channel, so please continue to. Those of you that do. Those of you that don't, I hate you! No, I don't. Of course I don't. Speaking of hate, who hates these truckers who are protesting and blocking up the road? Who hates Justin Trudeau? You shouldn't hate people. Don't hate people. Don't hate anyone. You don't need to hate people. How about, generally treat people with care whenever you can, maximize their well-being. I think this is the moral thing to do. Yeah, and make sure you guys share the stream. I'd really appreciate it. We do have... where is that? There we go. We do have Canadian Catholic joining us. We're going to have a conversation about Catholicism, God belief, and I'm looking forward to that because it's been too long since I've had a good conversation about gods. The universe was created 6,000. I can't really do that by myself, that bit. I need 2 people. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. I've been releasing some videos on the trucker convoy protest in Canada. It's been quite interesting to watch. I've released some critiques of some things I've seen, that some ugliness from some demonstrators. I've also shared some videos on social media of some people cleaning up and helping manage those people who are just seem like they're out there to get famous or something. So yeah, it's been very interesting. There's been a lot of things to talk about. There's been extensive conversations happening on our Facebook page. If you're on Facebook, come and follow us. We are eventually going to be doing a daily morning coffee show on Facebook. So facebook.com/Pangburn Inspire. That's where you will... hey, how's it going, Science Ultimatum? Welcome, welcome. You guys make sure you drop a like when you get into the room. That includes you, Andy. God! So yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know. We can get a conversation going about the convoy in the chat here. If you have something, an interesting take. Obviously, we saw some people depicting Trudeau as he's, like he's being hung. We have, some people that dressed up the Terry Fox statue, and I don't care who dresses up the Terry Fox statue, if it's for LGBTQ rights or celebration or whatever. You shouldn't really dress up these statues. These statues are a depiction of those individuals. The individuals aren't around to weigh in on the current thing that you happen to be celebrating or promoting. Maybe they would support it, maybe they wouldn't. But yeah, just don't do these things. I think it kind of goes against what the statues are representing. But let me know if you disagree. The Science Ultimatum with Jason Torn says, I was going back and forth with anti-vaxxers on your posts. Oh yeah, interesting. How did those conversations go for you? I'd be interested to know. Tomorrow, you guys, I have a guest coming on. Dr. Wilson will be guest number 60 on the Pangburn podcast. I haven't done a Pangburn podcast in a while, but guest number 60 will be Dr. Wilson. He runs the channel Debunk the Funk, which I've become a big fan of. I think he does a really good job using skepticism and logic to break down claims and claim making and how we evaluate claims in science. And he's been giving really good examples, the resources he uses to point people to the actual information that's being discussed. He does a really good job. So check him out. He is Debunk the Funk, but he will be coming on at 5 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow and joining us for a scheduled Q&A in our Discord server at 7 p.m. Pacific time. Again, that's Pacific time for all of you Easterners out there. I'm going to give you guys the Discord link if you're not yet a Discord family member. You can be with just a click of your mouse. And join us on Discord. What is Discord? Discord is a voice chat. Well, the thing, there's a text-based element to it, but the thing that makes it unique is it's a direct person-to-person voice chat software and video chat where we engage in conversations about philosophy, science, art, you name it. Sometimes we just have fun and bullshit and make fun of each other, but that all happens on our Discord server. So if you want to have a more in-depth experience of the Pangburn community, come and join us on our Discord server. We're usually in Trav's Tav every night, which is our digital tavern, and people will have their drink of choice or their smoke of choice or whatever of choice, and we sit there pontificating on interesting questions that have been asked and some new questions that we've come up with to ask each other. So yeah, that's what the community is about. Hope you join us. But that's tomorrow again. Debunk the Funk. Dr. Wilson will be joining me for podcast number 60. I can't believe it's been 60. Started with Jordan Peterson as my first podcast, which, as someone who, is I do my work publicly, listening back on old work always makes me cringe, But I think that's like you hear your use of language and you're like, damn, I've really upgraded that over time. But I think that's that makes a journey of doing something like this really fun too, because you get to see like where how the channel's progressed, how you've progressed as a thinker, as an interlocutor, and yeah. So if you go back to like the first videos on this channel, you'll see how kind of rinky-dinky everything was. Can I say rinky-dinky on YouTube? I don't know. I don't want to get canceled, have my monetization canceled any further. We did have a conversation about cancel culture last night in the Discord server, and we got to some interesting areas about the difference between the two. I think we'll talk a little bit about that today. But let's get Andy in here. Andy, where are you? Ladies and gentlemen, he's Andy Rovier. He's not afraid to say anything. Andy Rovier. He didn't unmute. Andy Rovier, he's got the glasses. Are these glasses an overcompensation for something, a medical issue you might suffer from, or are they a safety blanket? Why do you have a big zit?
Yes, right on my eye.
What's got you down today, Andy? You're usually in here early, gung-ho. Today, you came in like kind of a couple minutes before the show. Here's my theory, and you tell me if I'm wrong. You have become so famous since you started this, now that we're on episode 7, that you have fallen into heroin and cocaine addiction at the same time, and this is, making you kind of stumble in a little late. You got your cool glasses on. Women won't stop bothering you. Is this kind of accurate to what's going on for you right now that you're very famous? Yeah, did you just get back from a Twilight audition? You were can you go out in the sun, by the way? Oh shit. Something for some reason my input capture. Can you talk at me for a little bit, Andy?
Yeah, so I was thinking the other day about how killing people really isn't all that bad, and I think if I could get away with it, I probably would do it.
Okay, I need to put you through here.
First of all, Nicholas.
Okay, there we go. We got you.
First of all, Nicholas, I am not a guest. I am a co-host, you ass.
Nicholas, pay no attention to the weird, googly-eyed, long-haired vampire / werewolf from I almost said you're from Slovakia.
Wouldn't it be Transylvania?
Okay, he said now it's doubled. Transylvania. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, we should be good now. OBS is doing its fun thing. Anyways, yeah, Andy, was I close? Are you overwhelmed with all the fame?
No, I am overwhelmed with the minimal amount of effort that I now have to exert. But I don't know,
Well, what did you do today? Did you go for a run? What was your morning like?
I don't go for runs, but I did go for a walk.
Mm.
And this time I wore my headphones so I could listen to music. And it's been a while since I felt comfortable doing that. And it's also been a while since I felt comfortable walking out in the area in general. But
why is that?
Because I haven't felt safe recently in this area.
Is that do you think that at all is irrational, or do you have good justification for that?
I mean, I guess a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, Yeah.
So why this would be Nivik's question. So you figured it out. So now you're saved. You sorted it out in your mind. So now you should be able to just get on with it.
Huh?
So Nivik's question would be, you already can recognize that there's some irrationality there. So why can't you just throw out the irrationality? This is what Don has been in this long ass conversation with Nivik about. What?
I think I know why Andy feels unsafe. He hangs out with bigots.
Is that Mace?
No, that's Tristan.
Oh.
Mace would say it like this.
Yeah, but with
this is sexism.
With Tristan and AKA Fateh, you have to get close to the mic.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my mic. Oh, thank you for someone for pointing that out. My mic is not patched properly. I don't know what happened to all my patches on here. Okay, hang on.
Check, check. All right. That's just going to be coming out one side. So now I need to mono that. Check, check. Okay, there we go. Yeah, you guys should be good now. Thank you, Don, for saving the sound. Critical Thoughts asks who made that comic art. Okay, I don't want to get her name wrong because she's of course amazing. She's all mine. Daria from Vancouver. Daria Volosnikova. I'm going to give you her name here. Fuck, I did that whole intro without. Guys, sorry about the technical issues. New computer for all of you who donated. Pangburn finally got the new computer for the office, so this is awesome. There's Daria's name right there, Daria Volosnikova. You can look her up. She's got social media accounts and everything. You guys will find her easy enough. I'm just finishing sharing the stream on social media. So Andy, what do we what do you got for me for topics today?
Well, they found rare bionic armor in a 2,500-year-old China burial. Apparently bionic doesn't mean what I thought it meant.
What oh, okay. What yeah, so tell me about that. That's interesting.
Well, when I hear the word bionic, I picture like sci-fi.
When you say they, can you tell us who, please?
Archaeologists.
Okay, who though? Do you have a record of who the archaeologist was or the team?
Travis, I got it. This has been in the back of my head for like weeks now. We were going to get to it on another show, and then maybe even the show before that. I probably should have gone over these notes sooner, but
yeah, that's okay. Just why don't we pull it up just so we can get all the information? Are you able to do that?
Yeah, probably. Hold on a sec.
I'm just finishing sharing here. Yeah, you guys, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. I'm a little behind today because there's been so much going on. Just gonna tell everyone that we are live on Discord.
Okay, yeah. I pulled up the article that I read, but it looks like it takes forever to get to who is actually involved. Wait, hold on. Lead researcher was named Patrick Wertman.
Okay.
A researcher at the Institute of Asian and Oriental Studies at the University of Zurich.
Nice.
And about this bionic armor that was found, he says it is light, highly efficient, one-size-fits-all defensive garment for soldiers of a mass army. So when I hear the word bionic, I always think like sci-fi crap, but apparently it just means anything that is modeled after an organism, but it was man-made. So the bio and bionic. So yes, bionic, which is when humans take inspiration for human technology from nature.
Right.
So it's that simple. So basically, about 2,500 years ago, a man in northwest China was buried with armor made of more than 5,000 leather scales. And these scales were military garb fashioned very intricately, and its design looks the way a fish has overlapping scales. So therein lies what makes it bionic. And Wertman's team, he found it in the rim of the Taklamakan Desert at Yanghai Cemetery, a site near the city of Turfan.
Okay.
The scales would strengthen the human skin for better defense against blow, stab, and shot, said co-researcher Make. It's a very odd name. Instead of Mike.
M-A-K-E?
M-A-Y-K-E.
Oh, okay.
Make Wagner.
Huh. Interesting.
That's terrible. We shouldn't take his work seriously. Make Wagner. The
Make
scientific
Wagner. Get a real fucking name.
Whatever you say, Mike. The scientific director of the Eurasia Department of the German Archaeological Institute and head of its Beijing office. So clearly they didn't know what his name was. They gave him that position thinking it was a normal name.
What happened to you today, Andy? Something's got you down.
My energy is so low. You know, I was just thinking that, and I can't see the text chat, so I can't see what the audience is saying, but they're probably commenting on it that something seems wrong with me. And I'm noticing that my voice sounds very odd. It doesn't sound like I'm talking. It sounds like someone else is talking.
Your voice sounds really odd, and it sounds like someone else is talking, but it's like it's not me talking, you know?
Sorry, I'm trying to read these notes in a way that they seem interesting, but I can't. I can't trick myself. I'm not going to be able to trick you.
Here,
found.
Let's take a break from the notes. Don's got a good question here. Says, what's your take on Joe Rogan and Neil Young leaving Spotify? Did Joe Rogan leave Spotify? Andy, did you hear that? Maybe he meant the maybe he meant that Neil Young left. But yeah, I mean, you know, this is we were talking about this the other night, like business as usual is what up, Diablo? Business as usual is, okay, say you own an agency, and this agency represents all these different clients, all these different famous people, and then one famous person comes out and says something that another party finds morally abhorrent, and that other person who finds this to be morally abhorrent comes up and says, I don't want to be represented by the same company that represents this guy. So either this guy goes or I go. That's business as usual. It's been happening for a long time. That's not cancel culture, by the way. In my opinion, I think cancel culture is more if you are systematically targeting someone's in order to make life difficult for them. Like if people were to continue, let's say if Joe Rogan would have been let go from Spotify, and people were systematically, trying to make life difficult for that individual. It doesn't matter how famous they are. That's what I think cancel culture is. And, oftentimes I see cancel culture hovering that line, or sometimes crossing the line of harassment. And, we already have laws against harassment. Should we have laws against being able to systematically target someone and try to make it so that they cannot pursue, well-being in their life, wellness, find a job, things like that? I think this is immoral. But I'm not sure it should be illegal. What do you think, Andy?
Well, first of all, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. you know, I really wasn't listening.
Okay. So why don't we just start from Neil Young controversy? He's he said, "Get rid of Joe Rogan, or I'm pulling my music off your platform." And Spotify, drops, Spotify decides, not to drop Joe Rogan based on Neil Young's demands, and then Neil Young has his music removed from Spotify.
Yeah, that sounds kind of stupid.
What sounds stupid?
I don't know. It's just sounds like an overreaction. I mean,
by Neil Young, like so Joe Rogan, it was to do over having on some people like Robert Malone, who someone like Neil Young thinks is spreading dangerous information about vaccines, right? And then then Neil Young says like I want to make a stand against this because I feel strongly enough. Do you think he shouldn't make that stand if he feels morally strong enough, or do you disagree that he should feel so morally apprehensive to what Joe Rogan is doing?
well, I mean, if he really feels strongly about it, then I guess it's better that he would be true to his convictions, but I don't know how reasonable his convictions are.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do that. I mean, I actually am on Spotify, so I think I have like 2 listens or something. but if someone was like, or I don't have any impulse to say, even though I disagree with with what Malone had to say, and again, my guest tomorrow, Debunk the Funk, released an incredible video breaking down the problems of Malone's understanding of some of the details and the things he's talking about. But I wouldn't come forward and say, either he's gone or I'm gone, because I think being able to engage in intellectual discourse publicly without penalty, so long as you don't, you're not breaking the law of the land, which I think covers the problems I have with absolute freedom of speech, because we can't have people, freely promoting child suicide, right? We can't allow that. At least based on my moral foundation, which happens to be consistent with the law of the land. But I mean, if you did believe that, if you were absolutist, that you should be able to speak absolutely anything and promote absolutely anything that comes out of your mouth, then you would be against me on that, right? So I think most people have moral limits to freedom of speech. And a lot of people don't like to admit that, because the meme that goes around is, if you're not for freedom of speech, and then the conversation gets nuanced a little bit, because to a lot of people, freedom of speech means right up to harassment, or right up to coercing someone to do something terrible. So it's in that sense, if someone means like up until harassment, then sure, yeah, absolutely, free speech. But I think exchanging these ideas gives, and having someone like Malone come on Joe Rogan's podcast actually gives people like Debunk the Funk a great opportunity to educate people and to show them how to think critically. I like saying skepticism. How to use skepticism to determine what is going on in reality, separating bullshit from reality. And Debunk the Funk's very good at that. And without the Malone example in the the Joe Rogan podcast, it's hard to get real world examples of where people get this wrong on a mass scale. So ultimately, I think it's good for the war of ideas.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to say to that.
Hmm. Are you having a hard time focusing today?
Well, you're just so pretty.
What's on your mind, man?
I agree that free speech absolutism is silly, and most people are aware of that on some level because, if you say something really unkind to somebody, a lot of people won't like that. And they're not going to say, well, but he said it, so it was good.
Right. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
But it's mainly the laws, I guess, is where people disagree. But
Critical Thought says, shit, Travis drinking water. Rogan keeps telling people America is on fire. Yeah, America's not on fire. Bal Diablo says religiously abiding to the law of the land is dangerous. Yeah, if you heard what I said, it has nothing to do with that. So I don't know what that's in response to, or if it's just a general claim. Allison Coven, debunk the funk. Yeah, that's who I'm talking about. If you check out their YouTube channel. Critical Thoughts says, Trav, do you struggle with the fact that people don't like to skepticism? Well, it's the thing that it's not a struggle. It's just part of like what I like to go to war with in the war of ideas. I like to show people how they actually use skepticism in their life all the time. And then it's only when, things seem to start running against the ideological underpinnings that they hope are the case or they want to believe is true, when skepticism starts shaking at those foundations, then some people start turning to cynicism instead and digging their heels in and trying to use skepticism in a way so that they can keep a certain idea alive. Some people think that whole process is still skepticism, but it's not. It has changed to cynicism. You're starting from a position of how can I keep this idea alive instead of saying, let's figure out if this idea is bullshit or reality. Continue to question it. No. When you turn to cynicism, you're going to dig your heels in and say, let's continue to question anything that comes to challenge this idea so that we can dig our heels in and keep it alive as long as we can. Yeah. So what what else do you got, Andy?
So the U22 Rover made some interesting findings on the far side of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So a large research team connected to institutions in China, Germany, and Canada have given an update on these findings, and this rover has been exploring a crater on the far side. And in their paper that they published in Science Robotics, they say that they found that the soil on the far side of the moon is different than the soil on the side that faces the Earth. So China's National Space Administration launched the Chang'e 4 robotic space mission in December back in 2018, and the craft entered lunar orbit several days later. And the U2 rover touched down on the surface on January 3rd. It landed in the eastern part of the von Karman crater, and apparently somebody also murdered my dog or something. Jesus Christ. It landed in the eastern part of the von Karman crater, and since landing it has traveled over 1,000 meters. So far it's made 3 major discoveries. The soil on the far side of the moon is stickier and grainier, and there are more craters on the far side, with most being pretty small, so around 12 meters, and the far side is much less rocky and flat. So it also, the rover also observed an unusually shaped rock that got attention for a little bit because it looked like it was man-made. but just a rock.
Mm.
And the researchers suggest that this data could be useful in determining what type of craft to send in future missions.
Okay.
Both in terms of how to design it and also in terms of establishing a human outpost in the distant future. But
so the discovery is going to have some practical value then. That's good.
I should hope so. It's fucking boring, man. The fucking scum.
Right. I'm gonna see if Canadian Catholic. Actually, I won't open that there. I'm gonna see if he's ready. Have you had a chance to interact with Canadian Catholic yet, Andy?
Yeah, I was there when that thing happened. That was funny. But that guy did, who I won't name because I don't want to make fun of him. Yeah. Yeah, you're bringing him in early because you can tell I'm freaking out.
Are you freaking out?
Nah, I'm not being very useful. That's what I'm.
Why do you think that?
I can't read this. I can't read any of this in any way that doesn't sound like just awful.
Yeah, it doesn't sound awful. There's something bothering you. Is it energy level, or did something happen, or what's going on?
I have no clue. Nothing happened. So I guess it would be closer to energy level. But
yeah.
I don't know why my energy would be too low.
Did you eat today?
Yeah.
Okay.
People are gonna hate this episode, Travis.
Is that what you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Why do you think that?
You were dumbass. You were joking about how you were wondering if I'd make it to the 10th episode. It looks like this will be the one where I fall off.
How hard was it to come here and do this today? How close were you to saying like I can't do it today?
No, it didn't. I wasn't feeling that way. I didn't think. I didn't feel that bad. It wasn't until we started actually getting on the air that I started to feel a little bit bad.
Yeah.
A little bit less than optimal, I guess.
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to show my face, though, so I was already feeling a little bit camera shy, I guess.
Yeah. Well, what's Tim West? I hate it already. That's funny. Thanks, Tim. Andy's having a hard time. Okay, everyone in chat right now, we need to pump up Andy's tires. So let's find something about Andy that we really like. I'm gonna start it off. I really like Andy's hair because even though I make fun of it.
Can we not do that, please?
No, we're gonna do it.
I know I'm ruining the show, but like it doesn't have to be about it doesn't have to be about me and why.
Andy, the flexibility of this show is so that we can change things up as things happen. You know, if a breaking story drops, we can drop everything and talk about that. The breaking story right now, the thing I think people care about, like Tristan said, Andy, I really appreciate your biblical knowledge. There you go.
You know, even when I'm working at a more normal capacity, I don't deal with people complimenting me very well.
How come?
I don't know. I just don't. It doesn't seem right.
Hmm. Well, let me see if you agree with this. Instead of spending your energy trying to get people removed from social media platforms for ideas that you detest, create ways to challenge those ideas. Do you agree with that? Or do you agree with there's a lot of power in, getting like Donald Trump removed from Twitter?
No, you shouldn't just get rid of people. That doesn't do anything.
Yeah. How about this? Stop downplaying your potential. You are lucky to be a living human.
I guess. I don't know.
Do you think people generally downplay their potential? Do you think you might do that sometimes?
Yeah, I guess some people do that.
Mm-hmm.
I might do that.
Mm.
But I think my potential is a little bit low.
Yeah, I think definitely you have a ton of potential, but you're always you have a tendency to downplay it because probably you maybe haven't realized a lot of it throughout your life. But yeah.
Well, I'm really, really lazy. So whatever potential I have that requires work to access, I could just leave that unrealized and I could be content with that.
Hmm. What does inspire you?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that.
What if ever makes you want to get up and go do that thing?
I don't know. I don't know how literally I'm supposed to interpret that or how
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Do you do you like food? Would you say you have a passion for food, or you just kind of like eating?
I mean, I like eating, but I don't think I have a passion, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably don't like it any more than anyone else.
Mm-hmm. What about anime?
I mean, yeah, anime is cool, but I actually don't even watch that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I am just not my brain is just not helping me out, and I am just not helping you out right now. Sorry about that.
It's all good, man. Don't worry about me. I want to talk about a topic that you like talking about.
This is a really bad feeling.
Yeah. You want to talk me through it?
I don't know what to. Like I said, I don't want the show to be about me, and about how I'm going through something weird right now.
Yeah, you can talk about it if you want, or you can take the day off, man.
I really. Yeah. Okay. See ya.
All right, see you, brother.
Sorry, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Revere with the greatest stand-up performance I've ever seen, Andy Kaufman style. No, but in all seriousness, I hope Andy starts feeling better. Obviously not feeling good today. Poor guy. But yeah, we will continue on here, hang out. If anyone wants to join me, come on to Discord. We can chat about whatever. Andy needs some rest, I think. If that was a bit by Andy, he's a genius. He had me going. Maybe that'll be his out. Yeah, it was just a bit. You ever think comedians do that, where they literally have where they're really not feeling good? Yeah. Poor guy. Send Andy your well wishes. Andy, some chick on Tinder was like, I need to meet you now if we're ever gonna meet, and he's like, how can I do this? How can I get out of this without saying I can't do this today? I could do a bit. And he got out. It lasted a while though. No, Andy will be fine. Andy will be good. Yeah, how's everyone's mental health doing out there, by the way? This going through all this stuff, there's lots of people who have been engaging in some hardcore debates and nasty discourse on social media that can become taxing. I do it all the time, and yeah, it weighs me down. I have to take breaks. Yeah. Tim West says, what the fuck is this show about anyway? So the Pangburn show is Andy and I will come on and we will discuss some topics relating to what's going on in the world, philosophy, science, art, and then we'll typically have a guest. And today's guest is supposed to be Canadian Catholic, where he's going to come on in about 10 minutes. If he actually shows up. Yeah, Lexicon says Convoy memes are life right now. Yeah, they are. They're everywhere. I'm going to pull up Tristan says I had a temper tantrum on my guitar playing chords. Maybe something is in the air. That sounds really funny. A temper tantrum while playing chords. I'm going to take you guys through Twitter a little bit. Let me fill up my water and I'll be right back. But I'm gonna take you guys through some Twitter comments. I've been engaging a bit on Twitter. Allison Coven says, "What's happening at the border is infuriating." What's going on at the border, Allison? What's that in reference to? I'll pull it up. I'll give you my take on it. I'll be back in just 2 seconds, my dudes. Alrighty, I got some water. Lexicon says, bro, 50 miles long and the convoy. Grumler, welcome. Make sure you guys drop a like on this stream. Andy's out for the day. Head cold or something. No, I love you, Andy. Bro, 50 miles long, and the convoy is still not accepted as the largest convoy in history. Yeah, what is the largest convoy? You're saying it's this one in Egypt. Yeah, that's interesting. Longest conga line in history. Tim says Andy has to clean out those the old pipes. Maybe. Okay, so I think I'm going to share my Twitter screen with you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. Let me add this to OBS quickly. Add window. I'm going to cover up the beautiful poster for the Celebration of Science and Reason tour that I hope you can all attend, those of you who will be near. Twitter. Okay, cool. Whoops. If you guys aren't following me on Twitter, please do. I have to alt-click this. I'm at the Pangburn on Twitter. Let's go right there. Okay. Tristan, good friend, says we should start a GoFundMe to defray for Andy a mail order Russian bride. Is that what you want, Andy? Would that make you feel better? Okay, we'll get it on order right now. I'll order it from Amazon. I'll order her from Amazon. Lexicon says the largest parade of trucks consisted of 480 trucks and was achieved by Taya Misr Fund, Egypt, in Cairo, Egypt, on 20th November 2020 with a length of 7.5 kilometers. Interesting. Little old Convoy is the longest. All right, let's look at Twitter for a second. You guys keep commenting. I'll get to your comments. So someone by the name of Mike McCormick says, I haven't seen a single point raised by Dr. Malone in Rogan's podcast discussed or debunked. Only hand-waving about misinformation. If it's so wrong, it should be easy to point out the falsehoods. Example, I learned the CDC pays U.S. hospitals for COVID admissions and deaths. Wrong. My response was, you're not looking hard enough. I want to make sure you guys are seeing this properly. Okay, yeah, cool. My response was, you're not looking hard enough. Check out at Debunk the Funk's video on Dr. #Malone. And I've been sharing this video a lot. I think it's a really good video to go through in detail the claims that Malone makes and where there's issues. And I think Dr. Wilson did a really good job here. He's my guest tomorrow, by the way. 5 p.m. Pacific time here on this channel. Make sure you're subscribed. Ring the notification bell so you don't miss it. Aziz says, I have this video copied and ready to paste. Nice. Now, Mike McCormick responds to me. Look, this is a big problem with how some people are taking in what they think is the science. Mike McCormick responds to me, watched for 5 minutes and only hearing an attack on Malone's reputation so far. Choose something Malone said that is wrong and condense it into a tweet for me. I said, keep watching. You must have more than a 5-minute attention span to understand the details being discussed here. The critique is technical. Scott says, I have viewed this video. It's pretty damning for Malone. I wouldn't go further than 5 minutes. I think he's making a joke. But yeah, the main thing outlined here is like, watch for 5 minutes, only hearing an attack on Malone's reputation so far. So yeah, he stopped watching after 5 minutes. And you're never going to get an understanding of something technical by simply watching it for 5 minutes and then turning it off because you're hearing, claims against someone's reputation that you don't want to hear. Right? Yeah. So you don't like the questions of Malone's reputation. That's okay, but that doesn't mean turn it off. You want to get to the data. You want to get to the actual data and the data demonstration that Dr. Wilson will link to in the description of his video that he has uploaded. But he will go through all of the claims that Malone has made, the ones that haven't been demonstrated. So those ones are clearly marked. If you guys want to look at the video I'm referencing, I'll link it to you guys right now.
The myocarditis.
This video is doing very well, by the way. I've been spreading it everywhere. There's the video. Yeah, so you can't just, like, if you're saying, and also, I haven't seen a single point raised by Dr. Malone in Rogan's podcast, and this was tweeted 5 hours ago. This is a very common thing I see on social media. I haven't seen a single point raised by Dr. Malone in Rogan's podcast discussed or debunked. If he went on Google and searched Dr. Malone in Rogan's podcast discussed or debunked, let me put that into Google, see what I find. Okay, we got PolitiFact, we got Health Feedback, we got Independent Doctors, we got article on COVID lies. Let's go to videos. Yeah, and we got who is Robert Malone? Doctors demand over 200 experts. Joe Rogan interviewed a doctor who's been kicked off Twitter. That doesn't really matter. Reaction to Dr. Malone's podcast. Discussion on Dr. Malone. And let's see, if we search Dr. Malone, debunked, 4 down, we have, the video in reference here. Travis named the lies. What lies? All right. It sounds like I actually might have. I'm gonna get. So yeah. Yeah, I wanted to point that out because a lot of people are making that issue. Like they say, I can't find something. Well, I'm not sure they looked, or I don't know how they're looking. Join me in invite only. There we go. Hey, how's it going, Catholic?
I'm great. Am I supposed to turn on my camera?
Yeah, that would be great if you could.
Okay, great.
That'd be awesome.
All right, there we are.
How's it going?
Well,
good to see you.
I'm doing wonderful. How are you? Well, I'm doing okay. Let's just say that.
Yeah? Why just okay?
Well, it's a long story.
Oh, okay.
How are you doing?
Doing really good. Yeah, just going through some Twitter madness. Are you on Twitter?
Yeah, I am on Twitter.
What's your Twitter handle? And just so everyone can follow you if they find you interesting.
I guess, I mean, you'll have to write it. It's my first name and last name, so Joshua
okay.
B. I don't care. I'll write it in your.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, there you go. So that's, I guess, my Twitter handle. You can just find it. And yeah, I see we have common political views slightly, I guess.
Yeah. I think so. So what do you think? Let's first talk a little bit about this convoy that's been going across Canada. What do you think? Do you want to see things? Well, I mean, that's not even really a good question. I think everyone wants to see things open up when
No, I disagree. I disagree. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think. I was actually, I'm actually surprised, but I've been saying this for a while that I think COVIDism needs to be distinguished from COVID, and the views on COVID. So I'm a double vaccinated man. I got nothing against COVID. Sorry, I mean, people who advocate for being safe, I got no problem. I got vaccinated twice, and I mean, I haven't suffered any effects from it. It's been fine.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that we have to stop. We have to recognize that there is an ideology, and that ideology I call COVIDism.
Okay.
And I think that it has victims, and it has to be recognized. That's the point. So no, I don't think that many COVIDists do not want to open up.
Okay.
They do not want the regime to change. So I mean, again, I'm not a conspiracy.
Yeah.
So I would disagree with that assessment.
Okay. So what is COVIDism? Let's talk about that. I haven't even heard this yet.
Oh, well, actually, it's not my term. Many
Okay.
people are using it. I actually took it from places I've seen it used. And basically, it's the ideology underpinning COVID. The idea that it's strongly reliant on statism,
Okay.
inability to take risks, so on and so forth, inability to, I guess, allow risk, and simply a bigger reliance on statism, which, I mean, we're not for. And I've said this before. I have nothing against somebody who thinks that it's best for them to stay at home with a mask on. I've got nothing against such people. I'm gonna be marching for your. Well, I don't march in protests, I guess, because it's too cold here. I gotta say, but I would march for your rights.
Yeah.
To stay at home and have a mask on if somebody were. But what we're saying is we have to be part of the conversation too, right? I mean, I'm going to say my experience, and anybody can say theirs. I'm a student at the University of Toronto, okay? So I got vaccinated, I got vaccinated late. That was late August, okay? August the 30th is when I received my first vaccine. And the story back then was still, we're going to do this. We're going to get vaccinated. And, this thing's going to be over. I remember sitting in classrooms where vaccination rate was 100% required, and everybody I knew was vaccinated. In my first semester at the University of Toronto, I met... first half of the semester, I met many people, but I can only remember meeting one person who wasn't double vaccinated, and the only reason was they were waiting for the second vaccine. They already had one.
Right.
And in this climate, I still had to sit with a mask on.
Right.
Right. And then, when people were getting overwhelmed, we got the promise, that in March we're going to be removing all of this. We just have to set a date so it's all coordinated. And many of us, not me specifically, but many of us were hopeful that, this is light of the end of the tunnel, until another round of lockdown started. And the word betrayal came up for me, right? Because I was like, this is a betrayal, right?
Right.
So what we want to say is, we've played 2 years by your rules, so on and so forth. Now include us in the conversation, right? Ask us, do you want to be locked down? Do you want schools to be shut down? You can't just continue doing this, and I think more and more people are realizing this. So I'm not anti-vax. I think people should get vaccinated. It's better to get vaccinated. I just don't think they should be forced one. And second, I just don't support this ideology.
Yeah,
it's not that I don't.
Yeah, and I'll tell you my take on the whole thing. I thought that what we needed to do was I think it was a good idea to start off to do our best to mitigate spread until we had a chance to get the technology, the vaccination, the medical technology ready in order to, okay, now we've given people to the opportunity to get vaccinated against the current variants that are happening, and boost if needed. And then after a certain point, we're kind of where we are with influenza, right? Where we're chasing new strands of the virus. And yes, COVID is more deadly than influenza. It's proven to be, but that variation doesn't necessarily mean that amount of risk differential is going to justify for everyone that is too much extra risk to life to be able to go out and do their thing. And then I'll also say that I think once you are caught up, you need to start shaving those mandates away as quickly as you can, because there are repercussions to the health and safety of the country from keeping people, or making people adhere to these mandates. They are not just like we need to include that in the calculus. We can't just look at it as like there is no penalty on a very large scale to keep mandates alive.
So we know for a fact today that for the vast majority of us, COVID is not a deadly problem. For the vast majority of us, it's not going to be deadly. We know that. Now, when COVID was first starting, I remember the coverage, right? And while, again, you can debate whether it was okay to lock us down in the first place, but at least it seemed like it could have been a good idea, because the reports we were getting was that this is a virus that you've never seen before, right? People were literally dying on the streets. I remember the coverage, right? That was like early 2020, late 2019.
Right.
But now we have all the tools. We have all the tools to combat this. We have everything. And we don't enjoy this idea that we've gone nowhere, right? There's no change. Like, I read articles and it says, well, the government promises we might ease restrictions. I remember I was reading this in 2020 when we had no vaccine. Like, what is going on, right? I mean, how is this not a betrayal? And then I kind of look at it cynically. Like, I mean, it's easy for some people to say, but just think about a Harvard student who's paid thousands of dollars and got into debt right now and done everything to get boosted only to be locked down again indefinitely. I'm saying that affects people, right? So are we going to start talking about them? And people are, no, we don't have to start talking about them. It doesn't matter. COVID kills people. Yeah, COVID kills some people. That's right. But it also kills a certain demographic of people, which is who are at risk.
Right.
And most other people are not at risk.
Yeah, at least they're not at a significant risk. Like I mean, no one's going to disagree that a middle-aged person who is otherwise healthy, they are more at risk for their own personal personal injury to themselves to get into a motor vehicle, as opposed to contracting COVID. And I'm just talking like at the individual level. But what do you think about taking into consideration, having a moral consideration to being a spreader of something that's deadly, right?
Yeah. So I remember this because I was actually hospitalized for other reasons, like mental problems, when it was in 2020 June. So like COVID was, high hysteria, and I remember, just being next to some elderly patients and thinking, well, maybe I've given them COVID and they're going to die. But I've just realized how insane this guilt tripping is. I mean, then I've been in contact with hundreds of people, right, throughout my life. And that's not a lot because I wasn't even properly socialized as a child. And now you think about other people who are more socialized. They've been with thousands of people. And we all accept the risk, right? We accept some risk.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's impossible to live, right? You're not going to be able to live if the population isn't able to accept the risk. What you do is like we do it with every other possible disease. We screen people who are likely to have adverse effects. We take all the precautions we can with others, which includes vaccination. And then you just take the risk and you accept that among the hundreds of thousands of things that threaten human life, among the hundreds of things that make us more fragile, COVID is going to be an insignificant addition for most of us. And if that risk cannot be accepted, then you can't live in a society.
Yeah, and look, the risk has to be accepted after a certain point, right? Because obviously, my biggest concern has been for, the elderly, my grandparents, anyone in my family that has a breathing condition, and those have been the things I haven't been any more worried for my own risk, and I'm just talking about my phenomenological, general view of how this experience has been for me, and it's been like not one where I have felt worried about myself or my own safety, but more about, I didn't want to spread it to someone who would have harm befall them, who was an elderly person, which led me to my justification for, like, in 2020 not going home for Christmas and being around my grandparents or or anyone else who was elderly. But now that my grandparents have had, had the vaccines or have had a chance to have the vaccines, I now feel like they have had a chance to get up to date with, if they want to take advantage of the medical technology we have. So now I think we really have to work towards, cutting away mandates as they start making more sense, and and get things cracking again. I don't think many people out there think that masks are going to be mandated forever, because I personally don't believe coronaviruses are going away, and I don't think COVID-19 is going away.
COVID-19 is always going to exist.
That's what that's my interpretation, and I'm going to talk to Dr. Wilson about this tomorrow and see if he agrees with that, that COVID-19 is not going anywhere. But that's currently my belief, and that we have to kind of get used to having it around, just like influenza always cooking up and around. But for the medical community, it's another vaccine and virus situation that it seems like we're always going to have to chase, like influenza.
We've done everything, right? We're in Canada, where I am in Ontario. I don't know where you are currently. So
I'm in Vancouver.
Okay, so you're in Vancouver.
Yeah.
In Ontario, we've achieved 80%, near 80% of vaccination rates for eligible people.
Yeah,
we've done everything.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think that's incredible. That those are good numbers.
We've done everything. We've distributed the vaccines. We have, all the vaccines available. Significant amount of people are boosted. We've done all we can. Now it's time to accept the risk, right? I've had COVID, and my family has had COVID. I had COVID back in 2020 for sure, and almost for sure. And even tests aren't 100% reliable, and maybe even later. I don't know. I've gotten cold, so sometimes I haven't gotten tested. So my family member had COVID. My family members had COVID. We all had COVID. Most of us. Right, it was spread in the family, and it wasn't fun, right? I spent a long time being fatigued, much longer than I would have with a normal cold. And my aunt actually went to the hospital because she had pneumonia from COVID.
Oh yeah,
and it wasn't a fun time. I'm not saying it's fun. I'm just saying we've done all we can for the most of us. Now, there is a population that's going to need more precautions, and we need to work about them. But lockdowns hurt everyone. That's the point, right? COVID hurts some people. Lockdowns hurt everyone. At some point, we have to start weighing the benefits. Yeah,
I totally agree with what you're saying. Go ahead with what were you going to say about Jordan?
Yeah, so Jordan Peterson even says that it seems like, for many people at least, that the cure is becoming worse than the disease, and we are. Any way you want to put it, right? This is a betrayal of the younger generation. This is a betrayal of people. Sacrificed relationships, sacrificed lifetime, sacrificed memories, for some sacrificed lives, right? And the point is, how long is this betrayal going to continue?
Well, what do you think about the people who would say, when you say betrayal here, that it wasn't a betrayal, it was everyone doing their part to mitigate, the spread. But of course that argument kind of starts petering off when we start getting okay, we have this many people vaccinated, almost everyone who's going to get vaccinated is going to be vaccinated.
So what about the false promises? Why don't we have anybody coming and saying, we're sorry. You remember when we told you that if you got vaccinated, the infection would stop from you? We lied. Now infections don't stop with COVID vaccine, right? Why
Yeah,
don't we
anyone
get that?
who said that was a problem in messaging. And again, there was a lot of people saying that they would be like, just get vaccinated and you're all good. But what they should have been saying is that the vaccination is going to give you up to, whatever it is, 93% protection. It's not going to be this foolproof absolute defense against this thing, and there may be some variants that spread very easily, that kind of find their way through the vaccination more easily, that we're going to have to develop boosters, and we're going to have to keep up with it, and it's going to be this thing that kind of, it's going to be this ongoing thing if you want to keep up with your vaccinations. I actually think that a lot of younger people, young healthy people, once the mandates are lifted and there's no pressure to keep up with the vaccines, I think unfortunately, and I don't think this is a good thing, but I think unfortunately we're kind of going to get to the rate at which people get vaccinated for influenza. Like, because most elderly people are encouraged to do that, right? Because a bad case of influenza could kill you if you're elderly or if you have breathing conditions or whatever.
So I get a lot of hate. I get a lot of hate on this on Facebook, right? I got a lot of hate. Like, the point came where I was like, okay, I'm not even going to analyze anything. All I did was this. I'm simply going to post a transcript of Dr. Fauci, just with a source. I'm not going to say anything from an NBC where he says that, vaccination means that you're not going to get infected, right? Just those kind of words. I just wrote that. I didn't even comment.
Right.
I still get hate being told that I'm a theist who cherry picks things. And I said, here is the source.
Yeah.
I recognize, well, this is an ideology. This isn't, about just bare facts anymore. Because, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't think that COVID was created by some lying scientist to try to depopulate us, or, something like about vaccines causing cancer or bullshit like that.
Right.
Like, I believe in science. I think people should get vaccinated. I do think so. I did. I am double vaxxed. I was forced to, unfortunately, but I am double vaxxed. Right. And I'm happy to.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You wanted to, like, you felt as though you were told that this was the deal, and that, one thing I will say about the whole deal thing is that I felt that with the messaging, that the deal was that based on our understanding of virology and our understanding of what we expect out of this thing, we're going to try and mitigate. We're going to hold off. We're going to even lock down if we have to until we get these vaccines rolling out. And then the vaccine rollouts are happening. We're now at a point where most people are getting boosted as well. And it's like, okay, now what? It's like, what are we waiting for?
It's always one thing, right? It's always just wait till this date and we're going to do it. And then it's broken promise and everybody's like, oh yeah, we just have to trust the science. Science isn't breaking promises. It's people who are breaking promises, right? And I'm saying we're going to keep doing the same thing all over and over again.
I actually think we're close. I have to say, I think I really do commend Boris Johnson. Some people are going to say that Boris Johnson was a little too early with this. But
same thing in Denmark. Same thing in Denmark.
Yeah.
Right? Denmark has comparable vaccination rate to Canada. And they're saying, we're not going to do, like, what else are we going to do? Like, what's going to happen now?
Yeah. And look, I think Boris Johnson actually was kind of on the right schedule, and it wasn't that long ago that he, announced the end of these mandates. But I think he's correct. And again, this is something I'll put in my notes that I'll talk to Dr. Wilson about tomorrow to see what he thinks about. And yeah, because you do. If you're someone right now looking out at the world and taking into consideration that having mandates does have some effect at some level, you do have to kind of say when you think is a good time to open things up, or you have to say that we should get used to living under these current conditions, right?
So that's another, like, this is why the Convoy thing is happening, because people get tired of broken promises and lies. So if the promise, for example, had been since, let's say September, that, for sure we're opening up in March, and nothing had changed. They were like, no matter, we're keeping with our promise. This wouldn't be happening, or would be happening less. The point is, people are tired of lied to, right? This is the same thing that Jordan Peterson said. And I criticize Jordan aplenty for other things. I'm just saying he's right. set a date and open it up. You've done everything you can. We've done everything we can. And we can treat those people like we do with everything else, right? I mean, we know people are having heart disease, right?
Now,
You're not going to...
Here's another thing to consider. Okay, Delta variant was bad. Now, let's say we have a variant come out that's twice as bad or 3 times as bad than the Delta variant. Are you okay with re-mandating?
When you say bad, I mean, do you?
I'm gonna say an even, let's say a more lethal death rate. Let's just say based on that. Let's say it just hypothetically, if we did have a variant come out that was like that, do you think rolling back to mandates should always be an option, or do you think?
On the one hand, I'm not comfortable with this idea that the government is always keeping us on edge. Like this idea that we opened it up for you, but keep in mind you're not safe. So don't plan anything because at any given moment we can just order you back home. I don't like that idea, right? I don't like that. That's actually part of what needs to end, right? Because that's what it happens. Slight reopening, new variant, and we go back. And then again, slight reopening, new variant, we go back, and we're stuck in this meme. So we don't want that. But another point is if there was actually like much more deadlier disease, and by much more deadlier, I don't mean like 2% of people. I mean like, and I don't mean like a cold type of symptom or something like that. I mean something very deadly, like Alzheimer's, for example, that was transmissible by by air or something. Then I mean I guess some kind of emergency measures I would advocate for. Like I don't know if I would advocate for like type of craziness that might be happening here, but yeah, some measures are necessary in that point, but we're nowhere near that. Like not even like you can amplify this by 10 times and we're not going to be near that, right?
Well, 10 times, I don't know, but maybe you're just being a bit hyperbolic. But okay, well why don't we change dials for a second here? You seem to be a man of science, but you're a Catholic. Explain. How does that work?
As everyone knows, Catholics invented science. I'm joking. Yeah, so I am a Catholic. I don't see any contradiction with science and Catholicism.
Okay. Well, let's dive into something fundamental here. This is one of my favorite places to go. So, do you believe in the existence of a God?
Yeah.
Okay. And
of course.
Yeah. And what convinced you of God's existence?
Yeah, so I mean, what convinced me is less important than what's convincing me currently. But yeah, so what convinced me?
Why don't we do both? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a former atheist, as everybody knows. I mean, you guys can check out some of the stuff. I mean, I've known Travis for a couple of times. Actually, I used to dislike Travis initially because he used to have quite what I considered anti-Catholic views. He actually has a YouTube video about arguing against Catholics in Canada, actually, which is quite polemical. Something about I think
it had to do with the reaction from the Catholic community, or from an organizational perspective, and how they have dealt with priest rapists, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I remember, and I was, I mean, I don't know if I was angry, but I was like weirded out. I was like, oh, this guy isn't like very friendly. But then I was like, well, I criticize every religion, so why do I care, right? Yeah, so I came to believe in God again because I think that there's good reasons to. Both evidential and like logical, right? I think that the kind of world we live in with teleology, so on and so forth, is more compatible with a theistic worldview than a non-theistic one. So for a long time that did that for me, right? I mean, and a bunch of religious claims, stuff like that. But I've gotten more into serious studies, so I do think stuff like cosmological arguments, so on and so forth, just very strongly point to God. Now again, I don't think it can be 100% demonstrated as anything, but I do think we can have very, very strong confidence that it's true to the point that
that it warrants belief.
Yeah.
And how much do you rely on the validity of ancient texts to inform this?
I mean, I do, because I'm a Christian, so a lot of people just do this stuff where they are going to be, philosophical, and they're just going to assume, oh yeah, something, but, well, as a Christian, I kind of have to, because because our foundation is history, right? I mean, if you don't believe in Jesus, you're not a Christian, and so on and so forth. So I kind of have to, and I do. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself to be like a fundamentalist. Like I don't argue necessarily that the Bible is scientific or something like that. Or
Do you
the
believe
earth is
it was divinely inspired?
Yeah, I do. I believe in infallibility.
Mm.
But I don't believe that you can't, for example, study it in a critical way.
Mm. And so we have and do you believe that it was divinely inspired through human beings, and human beings wrote the text?
Yeah, I do believe that there's a human element. So I don't
Okay.
believe in this. Yeah, so I don't believe in maybe the way Muslims believe that Quran is literally the word of God. I do believe there's a human element, and there's going to be human elements all over the place. There's going to be allegories, devices, author's signature, right?
Yeah.
Authors differently, authors like that. But I do think, yeah.
And how do you tell okay, that there's a human element. These things were, written down by people. How do you know how do you differentiate between something that's human that comes from a human mind, or that it's divinely inspired? How would you is it because
So it's a false dichotomy. Something can be both, right? I mean, something can both come from the human mind, but also be divinely inspired.
okay?
We don't.
Okay.
We don't. But I mean, how you tell is it's not an easy question to answer. So it's not like there's some one tell. What we're saying here is, well, let's examine the worldviews and what's more consistent, right? Let's just say we believe in God, right? Okay, and we got all these religions, and they preach God. Like, what is the I'm gonna put this in a very easy term. What's the chances that that kind of religion exists, like by chance, that both God exists, but well, then that gives you good reason to think, well, maybe God has revealed Himself to people. And then you start examining, well, which one? And certain models are going to be out of the way because, you can give arguments that God is immaterial, so material gods are out of the way. So if you have good reasons to, for example, accept Christianity, then you also have, because of that, good reasons to accept other claims which might not directly be supported by a single strand of evidence, right? So if I come to believe, for example, that Catholicism is true, right, and for good reasons, then I also ipso facto have good reason to think that Catholic claims are true, right?
Okay, so they can be, let's say they can make logical sense, and they make a lot of sense, like your sense making apparatus taking the information, and it satisfies something in you. Does that necessarily have to be divinely inspired? Because I get I get that from Shakespeare.
Oh, I do too. I love Shakespeare.
And I do feel this feeling like man, this is something beyond what I'm used to feeling when I read something. But I don't call it divinely inspired. Maybe I call it inspired. But the thing I've always wrestled with when I look at theologies is that fundamental question of how someone can have faith that it just doesn't appear to be divine as opposed to actually being divine. Like, because you could be misreading something as divine where it just has the appearance of that, right?
So, as I went over, you have to accept slight risk with everything, right? You can't just be risk free. The point is, what's the better view, right? When you're comparing. So my point is, I'm saying that okay, we have good reason to think that God exists. I do think that we do, and we live in a world where I think we can give inductive evidence, and there's a bunch of things that we can point to and say, well, it's consistent with both, but it's more consistent with a God worldview, right? And so on and so forth. And I'm saying, well, if that's the case, and we have good reason to think that religions might have truth in them.
So consistency is a big one for you, and you see the consistency in the.
So not as much as consistency. What I'm arguing for is theoretical virtue. So which worldview has virtues, right? Theoretically.
Okay,
so
and how do you? Oh, hang on. Now, when you're deciphering what does have better theological virtues, are you not relying on your own subjective feeling and interpretation of what you value most out of that in that search?
Yeah, so I am currently leaning towards empiricism. So I do believe that you have to rely on your senses. Everybody has to.
Right.
But the point is, the fact that you take some data through the senses doesn't mean that that data is unreliable. I mean,
No,
you
I'm
have
not.
to.
I'm not saying that at all. Yeah, that I'm just talking about you when you make a value judgment on something. Like you're looking out in the world at the world religions, you're making a value judgment on it. What presupposition are you valuing from? Is it like what's the metric? Is it of like what you feel is best for you, or like I would use well-being as a moral subjectivist.
I don't know.
You know?
I would use truth value. So I think what corresponds to reality is better. I do think that the end goal of reasoning is finding truth. I do think so. I don't think it's pragmatic reasons. I think that you have to find truth, right? And I mean, if I were convinced that atheism is true, I would be an atheist, right? I was. I actually was once. I've told you. I was an atheist for about a year. Um, that's yeah. I mean, I did that, but I do think that many people don't take religion seriously. Religious claims, like they just dismiss it and you know, go out and I've criticized Jordan Peterson from time to time, but that's where I think he's right. He's just saying that you guys aren't taking these seriously. Like you're not right. He chides so many people.
Yeah, he sees great value
Yeah,
in
so he says, well, we see
some
a lot of
religious text. Yeah.
yeah, and he says, well, we have a lot of profound stuff. So I think that's what I would like to see. Like, I don't expect you or somebody else to just convert. But what I would like to see is some more, I guess, value. I mean, you look at, like, Catholicism. Just look at this thing, right? And just to take one, I'm not talking about anything else. I'm just saying, well, you just recognize a lot of things. You recognize beauty, so on and so forth. You don't have to be Catholic to see any of that, right? And a lot of what I call new atheists are very dismissive of any kind of value. I mean, just think about the thinkers and reasoners the profound ideas that are in there. And if you just keep ignoring that, that teaches you not to use critical thinking, that teaches you not to be curious. And I find it ironic because a lot of new atheists say, well, you have to think. And then they're going to be like, oh, religion is just fairy tale. I'm like, well, you got a
Yeah,
problem
I would
with
say it's much more than that. I would say these provide people with some, a lot like Jordan Peterson describes it, metaphysical framework in order to navigate and have something to call upon within the world when you need some help. I think for some people they find religions to be very helpful. So let me ask you this: like you mentioned, where the new atheists, what are some of the things you would want someone like me to take more seriously in Catholicism?
Yeah, so the first thing would be understanding theology and philosophy. Right?
Okay.
So that's the first. You would have to delve into the intellectual tradition, not cynically, but intellectually. So whether it's Catholicism or Christianity, you want to. So you have to distinguish between what maybe lay Catholics believe, maybe some things they got wrong, and what the best of Catholicism offers. So look at, for example, a lot of things that have been written, right? I mean, just look at the works of Aquinas, Augustine, so on and so forth. Like encompassing everything from what God is, right? Not a bearded man in the sky, right? You're not going to get that from Aquinas or Augustine, so on and so forth. You're going to get that from like pop culture. To a lot of mundaner claims that seem mundane but are not, like teleology in the world, right? I mean, just think about the kind of things you talk to maybe your doctor about. Like you talk to your doctor about how your heart should be functioning correctly, right? And then you dial back and think, well, it kind of leads to kind of teleological considerations, right? Final ends, hearts have, there's a way hearts should be and should not be, so on and so forth, right? You got these problems, and then you look at these, I guess, profound ideas that have already been explored, and you think, okay, that's interesting. Now, why Catholicism? So the first thing I would argue is to take that part seriously. That's the most important, the intellectual tradition. The second part is the cultural tradition, right? And a lot of people just don't take it seriously. Just think about the influence that Catholicism has and had. Like, we're talking about the most ancient institution that's continuously functioning, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy. Well,
yeah.
somebody says, like, which monarchy can you think of that has lasted for 2,000 years? And even if you don't buy that claim, like, for sure 1,700 years. Like, which other monarchy do you know that's lasted that long?
Yeah. So all of that stuff, just to interrupt a little bit. So all that stuff you just mentioned, for me, the way my mind works as an empiricist.
I'm an empiricist.
Yeah. It doesn't get me anywhere. What all that stuff does is potentially get me closer to understanding why you believe in the efficacy of these things, but it doesn't get me closer to the origins of whether the writers were divinely inspired or not. That's a big one for me. Like, because I can see elements of Christian dogma that may be helpful in certain circumstances by certain metrics, like by a metric of obedient soldiers. I see very clear demonstrations that you could have an army of very obedient soldiers if they bought into this idea that you had the right God and God was on your side, and the heavenly divine awaits you when you die. But yeah, like how can you get me closer to understanding to trying to understand how the divine is necessary in the writings? Because I believe men who weren't, that's my current belief, men who were inspired wrote these texts down, philosophers of the time, but there was no, I don't see any demonstration of things being divine, anything divine there.
Yeah, so the first thing to realize is that if theism is true, or rather certain views of theism, then everything is guided by divine, right? I mean, you'd have to accept that. Right?
If it is true in the the omniscient monotheistic way, then sure, it seems as though everything would be guided, right?
Yeah. So I mean, again, I can't go into all the proofs for God because I can't stay long. I have another interview coming up.
Yeah, no worries. 50. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but the good things are that I mean, I've done a lot of works on proof for God, not necessarily to convince somebody, right? I'm not an apologist. I'm not a minister or anything.
Yeah.
I'm saying that these are profound ideas, right? And people learn about them, whether atheists or anybody, in classes in top universities in the world when they study philosophy, theology, history, right? And I'm saying, well, we have these people who are completely ignorant and not willing to learn, right? I mean, I've had some of the biggest conversations with people, right? I've talked with people like Chomsky, Krauss, right? And I disagree with them, right? I disagree with him on many things, and I disagree and agree. And I'm saying, I can learn from you. I can learn a lot from you. And then I get this attitude, I'll post something, from Aristotle, God is thought thinking itself. And I get comments in Facebook saying, well, that's just the same thing as fairies. And I won't bother necessarily responding. Maybe sarcastically I'll say something like you're coping, but I'm going to say, well, look how intellectually malnourished you should be, right? I mean, it doesn't even give you any kind of fascination of this is how the geniuses of more than 2,000 years ago thought. Not even that. All that crosses your mind is this is fairy tale. It's just pathetic.
Well,
right?
I'll tell you something about that, and you might think I'm retarded because of this, but I've always looked back, and whenever I see God getting smuggled into any of the great philosophy or into the great minds of the past, I just look at that as kind of a common way to sell an idea, or just the common nomenclature of the time. I mean, God was used so much in writing. And I have never found the topic of God to be anything deep. A lot of people are like, oh, it's the most important question ever. It's got to be the most important. But for me, I've never felt that magnitude. I've always kind of approached it with the same level of.
The problem is that you haven't really gotten into it, right? I mean, just look at this book. This is just lying around at my desk randomly. I swear this wasn't a trick. It just was lying right here, right? And look at this. This is from Gavin Kerr, right? Aquinas' Way to God. And this is just discussing one proof from Aquinas for God.
Okay.
Just one. We're not talking about hundreds. And it has hundreds of technicalities, things that probably you've never heard of, right? Just think about that. I'm asking you, like, the area that you've unexplored when it comes to theism, whether that I'm not knocking you down.
Well,
by
I'm
the way, that's
continue like it's
What
I'm
saying is-
continue looking for demonstrations because it is the fascinating aspect of it is not the actual claim itself, it's what humanity does with the claim. You
Sure,
know?
but what my view is, the thing I have to say is that, well, I mean, many of us don't get into it. Like, well, I mean, just think about the disputes that exist between people who value the divine simplicity model versus those who agree with some versions of simplicity and are panentheists, right? Completely unknown to, I bet, even majority of your atheist viewers, let alone viewers of Matt Dillahunty or Richard Dawkins. I'm just saying, well, again, when you're just used to dismissing these ideas without exploring them and just making up excuses by saying, well, it hasn't been demonstrated, and then we tell you, well, here's a demonstration, and you say this is all just fairy tales.
Oh, look, I'm more about, like, if someone says here's a demonstration, I will look at that demonstration. One thing I'll say so far, though, Canadian Catholic, because I've had a lot of conversations with pastors, preachers, apologists, whatever and they've given me their demonstrations, and they're, maybe it'll be the clown cosmological argument or something like that. And, I don't think it's demonstrating what they think it's demonstrating. So you may have in that book you held up or in your mind a sufficient demonstration, and I'm never closed off to that. And I'm always willing to hear it because, again, the topic fascinates me, not because I think the claims are deep or anything like that, but because of what I think it does to humanity. Yeah.
Well, that's one aspect of it. And in fact, Jordan Peterson has argued pragmatically that there is very little difference between, it's not a big difference between what's true and what's useful. Now, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. What I'm going to say is you want to approach it with an open mind. And, I mean, it's good that you do. I don't like the fact that you say it's not deep. Yes.
I know. That one triggers theists a lot when I say, like, there's something in me, like, ever since I was little, when I heard about this, I would look at it and I'd be like, what's everyone getting so wound up about? It's like, what is this God thing? And then I saw it, and then I thought about, okay, well, someone wrote this down. Like, I remember being a little kid, like, thinking about the book. Someone wrote this down, but others feel very strongly about what's been written down. Why do they feel that way? Well, they believe it to be divinely inspired. So I've been thinking my whole life. It's just like, the implications of an afterlife and these other things actually being available are quite grand claims.
Right,
But I have failed to bask in that grandness because of that fundamental issue I have of seeing no demonstration of the divine, So that's been my journey in thinking about the topic.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, again, there's so many interesting things. Like, you brought up, and I know for a fact that you've delved into this, the philosophy of mind, the problem of, well, good things do. But, the thing is, every possibility is being entertained by a lot. And then somebody brings up the concept of soul, and they're going to be, oh, those are fairy tales, right? And I'm going to be like, well, you haven't actually explored the topic.
Yeah.
I don't like new age type of bullshit. I'm not talking about kolpas or bullshit like that. I mean, just start from the Aristotelian view and Platonic view of soul being the form of the body, or, the difference between the active intellect, passive intellect. And they're going to say, well, those aren't deep ideas. But, AI becoming human tomorrow is a great idea. And I'm like, well, you're not open really to it. I mean, it doesn't even have to be the God thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just brought up, life after death, and that's a topic that's been fascinating me for a long, long time. I'm just saying, you got to be open-minded. Now, there is a lot of new age bullshit. I'm not going to deny. Like, when I hear about tulpas and stuff like that, I'm going to be cringing as much as anybody, right? I'm saying, well, there's a difference between seeing obvious bullshit, like, things that are just incoherent outwardly, and the idea that, well, maybe not all of intellect reduces to physicalism, right?
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, I do run into people, and I'll be on your side a little bit here, where some people don't even understand, and some people who are prominent figures in the scientific community don't understand why metaphysics is a thing. Like
Yeah,
they don't.
and,
Like we need a place for concepts to exist. Like
there's a lot. Yeah, that's the same thing. Like, metaphysics. People don't even understand. Metaphysics is, what the analysis that comes after physics. That was
yeah.
and I've heard like David Silverman, the atheist, right? Metaphysics isn't real. I'm like, that's idiotic.
What is
That
that?
itself.
Yeah, that's such a failure of understanding what metaphysics is. Like we need a place for concepts to exist because the concept of love exists somewhere. It's like we made it, even if all the papers burn away, that doesn't mean the concepts in our mind don't exist in like somewhere. They exist metaphysically.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I'm going to like just leave this to you. Like I'm just going to leave this to you.
Yeah, sure.
So like consider people like Sam Harris, who I have some respect for, or Daniel Dennett, right?
Yeah.
All the topics are going to be explored there and open, right? I mean, Sam Harris's view that free will is an illusion, right? I mean, that's going to be open. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's going to be open in there, right? They're going to be like, yeah, that's certainly.
Which I agree with Sam, by the way.
They're also crazy. Daniel Dennett's view that consciousness is an illusion. Well, something like it. That's hard to get into. And they're going to be like, well, those are worthy ideas. Let's explore them. Now we're going to be, yeah, they are. And somebody's going to bring up, well, immateriality of the intellect, right? And they're going to be like, oh, no, that's woo-woo. Like, you're open to all these other crazy ideas. Why is this so crazy, right? I mean, it has even more defenders. It's arguably even more well-argued than the idea that we don't have free will. So why wouldn't you be open to it? So, it's kind of frustrating, I
think
guess.
Sometimes I think when someone is, like sometimes it might come off as not being open to it, but a lot of these people you're talking about, they've thought really hard on these things, and I just think that it doesn't satisfy their their epistemological standard of truth in order to warrant being able to say they know something, right, about it.
I'm just saying, well, if you're not going to be open-minded to it, then you're just pretending, right? It's one thing to say I'm not convinced, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I know a bunch of people, they're going to say these are great ideas, but I just have arguments against it. I'm like, fine. And then I'm going to encounter somebody and they're going to tell me, well, show me the evidence.
Right.
And when I get into it and they're going to say, well, that's not evidence, that's just faith. And I'm going to say, what? I never even brought up the word faith. They're going to say, well, you haven't shown me evidence because you just talked about fairy tales. And I'm like, well, you're a presuppositionalist, right? You're already presupposing that anything interesting is a fairy tale. And then you're going to say, right, I'm saying it's weird.
All right, man. I really enjoyed talking to you. We got to talk again soon. Happy to come over to your channel if you wish.
I'd love to.
But everyone, this is Canadian Catholic. You can find him on YouTube if you search Canadian Catholic.
And we've got some of the greatest guests. I mean, Noam Chomsky, Lawrence Krauss, Kripke, Swinburne. Just don't miss stuff like that. It's
cool,
wonderful. Man. And go and check out Pangburn's Discord. I hang out there. Well, I mostly listen now. I don't talk there that much because I want to cut off conversations.
Yeah, no. I hope you come back and engage more. Sometimes things can get a little bit sticky in there, but we have fun. Everyone, there's the Discord link. All right, Canadian Catholic, we'll let you go. Thanks a lot, man.
Take care,
guys. Shut up and bye. Canadian Catholic, interesting guy. If you guys want to engage with him, he's on our Discord server. If you wish you would have been in the room, been able to go toe to toe with Canadian Catholic. Tim West, cringy. Who was smug? I was smug? Jesus Christ, Andy. Are you talking to me? Grumler says, it is fairy tale with golems and creatures. Bible. Hilarious. Andrew says, atheism paints a picture of an intuitively incomplete seeming universe. No, it doesn't. The people who notice this get criticized and talked down to by some atheists. Most like theism is evil. Oh, Andy's saying not me. Oh, he's referring to someone else. Yeah, I disagree with you, Andy. Atheism is simply the lack of belief in gods. This tends to be because there hasn't been sufficient demonstration to believe in them. There's no other baggage about painting pictures of whatever. Kaylee Fisher, thanks for commenting. I'm not sure if you guys got into Rich H says new atheism led to the COVID cult. What is the COVID cult? The cult of COVIDism. While Diablo's back, stirring the pot as usual. John Boy, thank you for moderating. Everyone, thank you for stopping by. Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. This is episode 7. I hope Andy is feeling better. It looks like he's engaging in the chat. That's good. Best wishes to Andy. Let's make him feel weird. Yeah. Anyways, that's it for today. I got a lot of emails to catch up with. My phone's been going stupid, vibrating on the table while I've been talking here. But I hope you guys enjoyed the guest today, Canadian Catholic. Tomorrow, Dr. Wilson, not Mr. Wilson, Dr. Wilson, from Debunk the Funk will be joining me, and we'll be talking about Dr. Malone and some other doctors that Dr. Wilson has debunked their funk on his channel. So join us tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific time. We will be live on this channel again. Make sure you guys ring the notification bell so that you can get in here and be notified. If you don't do that, you will definitely not see this live stream. So please do that. Yeah. And as usual, let art and science inspire. Thanks, everyone.